What's up, everybody? Matt M. Roy back once again. Well, feeling kind of bored. I had a job this morning, and I just actually finished doing my bike ride, some exercising, and pretty much listing one of my bikes for sale. And now I'm just kind of bored. It's 2:08 here in the afternoon, and I really don't have much else to do. Well, that's not entirely true. There are things I could do, but honestly, I'm just too physically tired to do them right now. I actually have quite a bit I need to do, including finish refurbishing about 7 or 8 more computer towers. And so I have the motivation to do it right now. I'm feeling kind of full. I ate quite a bit today because I worked it off. I've noticed that my caloric intake has been increasing a lot lately, and I'm still not gaining weight, which means my body is in total fat burning mode, or ketosis, as a lot of you know it. And just I need to eat a lot more to maintain, or even to, basically to maintain my weight. It's just, it's a good thing. Believe me, it's the first time I've ever had this problem in my entire life. So I'm not going to really complain. It's really a good thing. Erik Ozai, I too am bored. I've been working on my truck, but my mind isn't in the right mode for that. I know that feeling. I've been that way lately myself. I've just been kind of in a cloud, in a haze, if you will. And I've been lashing out at people lately, just for no good reason, honestly. I don't know if it's the change in the weather, the fact that I'm not really sleeping that well right now, and that's also because of the change in the weather. We always have a lot on our minds, but I don't know. Just lately, I've been really moody, and I really don't like it. I don't like being that way. Scott goes, I'm bored too. I got things to do, but I got zero energy. I think I've cracked this. I really think it's the change in the temperatures and the seasons, going from I should say summer. We've been in fall for a while now, but a lot of the country was in that Indian summer where summer kind of goes into fall. Excuse me. Okay. I think I got somebody messaging me. I listed my Schwinn Ditch 3.0 hybrid mountain bike for sale, and I got quite a few people interested. I thought that might go quick. So what were we talking about? Oh, being the fact that it was Indian summer, meaning that summer spilled into a lot of fall. And basically, we just start getting the change in temperatures. Whenever we get a change in temperatures, I notice that I get moody, I get tired, and I just get downright irritable. Scott Killigo said, we had Indian summer a while back, but it only lasted a week. Man, I wish it would only last a week here. Our Indian summer lasted pretty much entire month of September and even spilled into the beginning of October. I hate it when these people do this, and it's obviously a scam. Here's another one of those. Please email me if it's still available. Something at gmail.com. I'm telling you, if you guys sell on any of the platforms, but really this is more for Craigslist than anything, you get these scam text messages where they say, oh, I'm interested in your product. And they don't actually say what it is. They just say your product that's for sale. And they say, please email my friend at blank, 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 blank at Gmail, or usually it's a Gmail account. And if you ever see that, that's a total scam. Don't fall for it, because they're trying to do something. Usually they're trying to get you to call a number and set up Google Voice on their end, so they can go ahead and spam your phone and basically use your phone for more or less illegal activities, if you will. What else we got? George Blakely's here. Scott Kearley's here. I've got 6 people. I'm actually really surprised. Again, I did not announce this at all. I just figured, what the heck? I seem to be bored. I figured everybody else would probably be bored too. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what's been going on around here. I finally, for those of you that haven't followed me recently, I picked up a 2005 GMC Yukon Denali XL, so it's the suburban equivalent, and that thing was kicking my butt for a while. I had to put four new tires on it. I had to do front brakes. I had to do both front wheel speed, ABS wheel speed sensors because it was throwing off the computer and making the traction control come on all the time. But I think finally I got all the gremlins licked in that. And then the last thing I had to do was replace the gas cap because the check engine light came on and I noticed I kept getting a message, tighten your gas cap. And sure enough, the message that came up was for the evap system. So the last thing I do was buy a new gas cap for it. And now there are no warning lights and no problems whatsoever. So fingers crossed I don't have to put any more money into this vehicle because true, I only paid $2,300, which is an amazing deal for that vehicle. But I had to put another almost $1,800 into it. So even with what I put into it so far, it's still a really good deal because these things are with the type of mileage, about 179,000 in my case, are still selling for about $4,000 to $6,000. Well, I say $4,500 to $6,000 depending on where you live. If you live like up north, like in New York in the California area, one that's in really good condition like this with no rot or rust, some of those can actually fetch upwards of $7,000. Scott Keeley said, "Yeah, once we had a caller call at 3:30 a.m. We lost the transmission in our Impala, and he said he had on and can ship across the country for $365. Google the number, had a huge scammer." How in the world did he know you lost your transmission unless you were searching for that? That's kind of arbitrary. I've had scammers call me early in the morning, but usually it's something like they want you to donate to some bogus charity like the Police Officers Benevolent Fund, and you know it's a scam because no legitimate organization is going to call you that early in the morning. They know what time it is. They're just trying to catch you off guard and in a weakened state. Erico's last 2 days of work have made me want to walk out, not in the state of mind to go deep into an engine. I don't blame you, Eric. I hope we all start to feel better. I don't know what is. I think maybe we need to take a break from social media for a while. I've noticed that a lot of people are doing that, and I may be doing that here in the near future. I'm not going to go off of YouTube. Don't worry about it. You guys will always see content from me, but I'm thinking of taking like a week's break from YouTube, just trying to focus on something else, maybe taking an actual vacation, getting away from YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all this stuff, because it really does weigh on your mind. I mean, I find myself honestly waking up like at 1:30 in the morning when I'm having a hard time sleeping, getting back to sleep. What do? I pick up my tablet and I start surfing Facebook, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this? In the olden days, I would have just laid in bed and enjoyed, looking out the window, maybe looking at the stars. Now our minds are so focused on who's saying what on social media that we just don't get a break. And I think that's where a lot of our problems come from, honestly. George Stewart, anybody know how to repair power seats? It depends on what the problem is. Mostly when power seats go bad, it's usually the motor has gone bad. And in that case, you usually just have to replace the motor. Now, I will tell you this. In my Tahoe, the rails had started to rust, and I noticed that the seats were really weak. Like you couldn't sit on it and adjust the power seats because the motor was trying to push it along the rail, and there was a lot of rust and corrosion that was fighting against the motor. So, if that's the case, then you can get something like WD-40 or any kind of really good lubricant and lube those rails up really good. Maybe even grease, but you want to be careful because you don't want to spill that on your carpet, and that might actually fix the problem. And of course, if it's not working at all, before you look at changing the motor, always check the fuses. That's the very first thing you want to do with any vehicle. If any electrical component in a vehicle is not working, make sure you just didn't blow a fuse. Eric goes, I want to get off Facebook, but I sell the lawn and garden equipment on there. Yeah, that's my problem. I mean, a lot of my sales are through the Facebook marketplace. Okay, here we go. All right, here's another one of these scams. So this is what I got. It goes, hello, I'm Emmy. Emmy, right? Not Emma, not Emily, Emmy. I'm interested in buying your Schwinn 3.0 hybrid mountain bike. And then I wrote, it's still available. And this is what she said. Okay, I will send you a 6-digit code from Google. If you are real, send me a code. Are you agree? Are you agree? Not do you agree? Are you agree? So you know what I'll write back? I'll say, I'm sorry. I'm just a little wooden boy. I like to mess around with these scammers before I block them. It kind of perks up my day a little bit. You know what? They're trying to scam me. So I look at it as they're wasting my time. I'm going to waste their time. George Stewart, getting power just moves slow sometimes. It goes all the way back. Sometimes it don't. Yeah, I will bet that you have the same problem I have with my Tahoe, and that is the rails have gotten a lot of corrosion and maybe even some rust built up. Just try to grease them. Again, maybe start with some WD-40, spray it on there, and I'll bet you that'll fix the problem. If it does, great. If even if it's not a long-term solution, maybe it'll work for the time being, until you get a chance to replace the motor. But if that's not the case, then it's probably just the motor's old and it's getting weak. Wow, Anna Morgan, salt in NL Canada is very use a lot of salt there. You can rust in less than a year. Wow, I'm not surprised. I mean, I know some areas of Canada that use a lot of salt, like in Quebec, where my grandparents used to live. They would use tons of salt. As a matter of fact, my grandparents wouldn't even drive their car in the winter because it would just rot out immediately. But then you have provinces like Saskatchewan and maybe Regina, but I'm not as sure about them. But I know in Saskatchewan, they use sand, so the vehicles there don't rot out at all. And it's the same thing down here in my area, Southern Virginia. We don't use salt. We have so much sand around. Sand works just as well as salt, especially when you put the brine down first, and it doesn't rot out the vehicles. But in New York, it's the same way. Oh my gosh, absolutely terrible. 9 watchers, 4 likes. Wow, I'm really surprised. Honestly, I didn't think we get that many people here. Adam Moran goes, yeah, I am going to work on underseal with my mate's car, then start on mine. Check out Scotty Kilmer's videos. I know I reference him a lot, but he's the one I used when I need to know something about a car or one of my vehicles. And he had a couple of videos up about undercoating, and I know that he was saying there are good undercoats that you can buy, and then there are bad ones. I think he was talking about the ones that are really thick, like that tar undercoating is actually really bad, because what happens is if you don't put that on right, what you'll actually do is you'll trap the moisture underneath the tar, so in between the undercoated tar and the metal. And what'll happen, it'll actually rot out quicker. Like, it'll rot the metal out underneath the tar. You think you protected your car, then one day you'll get in there and you'll put your foot right through the floor because the moisture will have rotted it out. So there are other ones out there that allow the metal to breathe but still protect it from the elements. Some places in Ontario you cannot use salt either, or suitable Stubbable tires. Yeah. New York passed a law years ago because it wasn't even stubbable tires back when I was young, like in the 80s and early 90s. People actually had spiked tires. I mean, we're talking about tires that had metal spikes coming out that would grip the road because being in upstate New York in the mountainous areas and close to the Catskills, it was very hard to get traction. Well, they had to pass a law banning those because what was happening was so many people were buying those stub tires, the ones that had the actual metal spikes, that the roads were getting torn up every year. I remember when they had those, they would have to repave our roads once a year because at the end of the winter season, the roads were all torn up. So they wound up having to pass a law that said, no, those are not allowed on the road. You had to stick with like regular stub tires that had like the composite or rubberized stubs on them. Or better yet, a lot of people just use chains. And chains aren't great for the road either, but they're a lot better than using metal spikes. And Maureen goes, yeah, the one I'm going to use has something in it to prevent that. Also going to make sure that it is dried out well before starting. Yes, make sure you get a professional to do that. There are backyard mechanics that will undercoat your car, and you'll probably save couple $100 doing it, but I can almost guarantee you they're not going to do it properly. That is one thing, especially in your area. You want to go to an absolute professional, somebody that does it on a regular basis for a living. They'll make sure it gets done properly. And maybe even better than that, try to find somebody that gives you a guarantee. Like if 2 years from now, after you have it done, your vehicle's all rotted out, you can go back and say, hey, look, you undercoated this and it rotted out anyway. So I want some compensation. Eric Brenham, you should check out a channel called South Maine Auto. He's in Avoca, New York, and he is in an area with a ton of dirt roads. Most cars are basically shot within 5 years. Eric, buddy, we had the same problem. I lived in a little town called Kent, New York, which we were in the middle of nowhere. It was farmland, a lot of houses, 30 miles from like the first major grocery store. And it was the same way there. We had cars, if they lasted 5 years, you were lucky, basically. Now we took precautions, we would wash them off as much as we could, but when the temperatures are so low at night in the wintertime, you can't be taking the garden hose out and spraying your cars down. There were even we never had one of these, but there were some of my neighbors that had really nice vehicles and had the money to maintain them. What they actually had was inside their garage, they had a little tent. It was basically a tent that had a giant, for want of a better term, shower head on it, or a couple shower heads. And what you would do is you would drive the vehicle into this. It would seal in there, and there would be a drain at the bottom, and you would actually turn the spigot on from the outside, and you would literally give your vehicle a bath inside of this little tent inside of a garage. Probably, it would have to be a heated garage. And there would be a little drain in the floor. It would just go, into your normal sewer system. I've only ever seen that a few times. And again, the only people that could afford that were people that had like really good jobs. I think the one person I knew that had it was either a lawyer or a doctor. So we were never that lucky. When I was young, I'm telling you, we had some of the biggest jalopies you could imagine. When I was a toddler, my father worked for a dealership that actually gave him I don't know what you call them, not a loaner car, what's the term for it? But basically they gave him a car to drive. It was kind of like a lease, but he didn't have to make the payments. It was a company car. And we had that for a couple of years, and then he left that dealership. And probably until we moved down here and even past then, we had jalopies. I'm talking about vehicles that were 10, 15 years old, had 150 plus thousand miles most of the time, half rotted out. The exhausts were falling off. But you know what? They got us from A to B. We never really drove all that much, honestly. Scott Keeley goes, I don't think chains are road legal for cars and trucks unless it's heavy equipment and semis. I honestly don't know anymore. When I lived in New York, it was legal when the roads were bad, but this was in the 90s, early to late 90s. So we moved in 97. So the law may have changed now. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, the 10 car wash was really cool. I honestly wish we had something like that because I think we could have had our vehicles last a lot longer, but setup like that was just out of the question. We didn't have the money for it back then. Kind of an interesting topic we're on here. You know what? I don't mind. I figured you guys can kind of set it this time. Where I lived, it changed in March of 2002. Okay, yeah, I mean, and it's very possible. They're augmenting these laws all the time, especially with our infrastructure problems now, with not being able to pay to keep the roads up. I can imagine that the governments, local, state, federal, want to keep these roads in as good a shape for as long as possible. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the law did change. Oh, Eric's doing an unboxing. He just got his GoPro Hero 5 in black. I think it's the same one that I have, which I really need to start using again, by the way. I don't have time to deal with the footage. That's why I find it so convenient to use my cell phone for filming most of my vlogs and things. I mean, it's just a heck of a lot easier. Well, I didn't hear any back from this person, so I'm just gonna go ahead and block this scammer. Sometimes they won't answer. Most of the times they won't answer. Sometimes they'll just answer and say okay or thank you. But yeah, they realize that I know they're scammers. I'm gonna save that one. That might be legitimate. That's a local number there. So you guys are probably going to be asking me, Matt, why are you selling the Schwinn bike? Because I did put a lot of money and time into that. I actually had new tubes and tires installed, plus it had a tune-up. The reason I'm actually selling it is I just don't have a need for it. I have too many bikes now, and that one honestly just does not fit me that well. It's really a shame because it has disc brakes and it's really in good shape. I just have too many bikes. Yeah, I kind of figured you weren't going to do an unboxing, Eric. It's okay. Unboxing videos are never my favorite. Hang on, the lighting is changing. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and turn the main light on. So be back with you guys in a couple of seconds. I think that's a little better. I noticed that sometimes the fluorescent light here plays havoc with the CMOS sensor on my webcam. Just a little bit better, not as washed out. I don't look like I'm a ghost at the moment. Yeah. All right. So I hope you guys are all doing really, really well. I am going to end the live stream here. I think we've talked enough. I appreciate. I hope you brought up my day. I hope I brought your day up. Please continue to like and subscribe. I am going to take a break probably for a couple of days just so I can get my head back in the game because I feel like I'm drained at the moment. Oh yeah. I'm gonna answer this one. He said unboxing videos can be very difficult. Takes you back to your Dell XPS 8700 unboxing video. That was really complicated because I had used that table back there, and my room was really congested at the time, so I had to find a way to do it. So yeah, it can get really complicated. All right, everybody, thanks for coming, and as always, have a blessed day.